Pulsar has just released a new EQ plugin, and this one emulates the W495, which I have. Thanks a lot to all the channel members for helping with the independence of this channel. If you also want to become a channel member, make sure to click the join button down below. So I have a stereo pair of the W495 here in my console, and these are mastering grade EQs from Neumann. They are vintage and they're really cool because they have big knobs that are stepped. So it's very easy for recallability, and they have a very clean and neutral sound. So it's a 3-band EQ. We've got a low shelf, a high shelf, and a mid bell, which only has 3 different Q factors. And as we can see, Pulsar replicated this with this plugin, and they, I think, kept it really close to the original. The only difference is that this one isn't stepped. So you can not only select 60 Hz or 40 Hz, but also everything in between, which is a cool thing that software can do. However, when I want to match settings, it's maybe a little bit more difficult for me to do this. Apart from that, there's also mid-side processing in here now, and automatic gaining, which I'm not going to need on an EQ. I love auto gain. I think keeping your gain levels the same can be very beneficial to your workflow. But in the case of an EQ, I don't really have a lot of problems with my workflow with the EQs. So what I want to do is create a curve on the console and then match that in the plugin and do an A/B test. So here's a track from Darude. It's called Sandstorm, the funky version. So what I want to do is boost some low frequencies. Let's do 60. Let's do quite a lot. We want to make a good A/B test. Let's also, I don't know, boost 1.4 kilohertz. And do the same on both sides. 4 decibels. Yeah. And let's also pick the high frequencies, the 14 kilohertz. And let's do 6 decibels. Make a good comparison. Now let me try to match this in the software. So we've got 6. Alright, so the settings are now matched based on the literal settings. Let's compare. Now, how big is the difference really? Well, let's just figure that out by using an old friend called Plugin Doctor. And here we can see we are basically getting the same curve. The only difference is that our hardware is stopping at like 22 kilohertz. And I have to mention that we are running at 96 kilohertz sampling rate. This has nothing to do with the filters or something from the converter. This is literally just, the EQ that stops EQing there. It's just, I think, the maximum the circuit is capable of doing. And the Pulsar EQ keeps going and has a little bit of a slider drop off there. That's the only difference. I don't think it's audible, but apart from that, you can see that they really recreated the curves pretty well, and you already see that there is a small discrepancy between my left and right channel. So that's already interesting. Like, it's analog, it's not as perfect as math coming from a plugin. And also, if we switch to the small Q factor, you can also see that they've almost perfectly replicated it, but I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear the differences here. And also if we're looking at the harmonics of the plugin, you can see that it basically creates the second and a third harmonic here. And these are also the two most dominant ones on the hardware. What is, however, good to note is that the hardware is creating a few more harmonics compared to the plugin. So when it comes to harmonics, this plugin isn't fully recreating the same behavior as mine in my console. But I also have to note that these are very old and I think still run on their original capacitors and original parts. So it also could be that there's something going on there. If we take away all those technicalities and comparisons, do I think this thing is worth to buy? And this is a bit of a difficult answer, because I think a plugin like this compared to the hardware unit could actually be better. As said in the beginning, it has some extra features and it also has a spectrum overview, which is worth something. And the same goes for stepless settings in a plugin. On top of that, you also have things like recallability, which is easier to do on software compared to hardware. But on the other hand, this is a very clean EQ. Yes, it creates some harmonics. So do other plugins. So from that perspective, there's not really a reason to buy something like this. However, on the other side, and this is my struggle, these EQs are one of my favorite ones. Like, they're literally within my arm's reach on my desk for a reason. And I think it's very cool that something like that is now accessible to a lot of people. So, honestly, I don't know what to think of this. I don't really think you need it, because you can do a lot with just standard EQs, FabFilter, Sonable, whatever. But the W495s just have a special place in my heart. And because of that, I really like that they're replicating something like that. And also because you rarely see units like this being replicated. These EQs have always been some heroes that weren't dressed in a cape or in a hero uniform or whatever. How would you say that in English? So yeah, that's what I think of the W495. The affiliate links will be in the description down below. So go check it out yourself and always try before you buy. Also, don't forget to keep pushing, joining the channel as a member and checking out these videos. Bye bye.